You've just stumbled upon JK's Rewatchable Hour.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to JK's Rewatchable Hour. I'm going to be your host tonight. With me tonight, as always, is J Dubs, Jeff Welch. How you doing tonight?
I'm good, sir. How are you doing?
I'm good. Um, Also joining us is Eric Evans.
How's
How
it
you
going?
doing?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
Yeah. We also have Jeff's wife, Jennifer, on tonight. How you doing, Jennifer?
Pretty good.
And we have Jackie Lynch joining us again. How you doing, Jackie?
Oh, I'm doing. Thank
So
you.
tonight, you're welcome. Tonight we're gonna do an episode about The Walking Dead, and it's gonna be the difference between the comic and the show. Many things happen in the comics, and they usually do also happen in the show, but maybe by a different character. I'm gonna start off with a minor difference. In the comic, Shane and Rick are small town police officers in Tennessee.
Oh,
In the show, they're deputies from Cook County, Georgia. Just a minor one. So now the show starts off. Shane and Rick are eating lunch in their squad car, and they're just talking, like partners would. Shane being the single, they were high school friends as well. Shane being still single and Rick being married. Rick talking about his married life, Shane talking about his antics with, with some of his women that he's gotten, that he's met. They get a call that the highway patrol is in a high-speed chase and needs their assistance. They answer the call and they go out to where the high-speed chase is going to come through, and they spread the spike strips across the road. They are also joined by two other deputies from their department, and they line the cars up so they can hide behind the cars. The other two police officers, one of them is, you could tell, is he was a little older. He's a veteran, and the younger cop is not quite as smart as as other cops, as other people. He's not the smartest guy. He looks over at Rick and Shane and he says, "Do you think we'll be on one of those police shows?" And Rick says, "I don't care about that. Make sure your gun is off safety and there's a round in the chamber." And the guy looks, and of course there's not, and it's on safety. The only reason I said that part is because Shane does a little comic relief and he looks at Rick and says, "It would be kind of cool to be on one of those shows." Just kind of a little comic relief. And then you see the car followed by the two highway patrol cars hit the strips and flip and wreck. And then the criminals, the guys that they're after, emerge from the car and a shootout ensues. In the comic, you don't have all that before. It just starts off and it's just Rick and Shane behind their car in a shootout with an escaped convict. And so Rick, trying to get a better angle, says, "Shane, cover me." And as he starts to leave from the safety of behind the car, he gets shot. The very next scene, Rick wakes up in an abandoned hospital. I believe they don't say how long he's in the coma, but I believe it is 59 days after the initiation of the zombie apocalypse. It's referred to, I don't know if it says it in the comic, but I know in the show it says that it was 59 days after the zombie apocalypse got bad. Let's see. So in the comic, Well, in both, he gets out of the room. I think in the show he only wears his hospital clothes, whatever clothes he had on in the hospital.
Mhm.
In the comic, he opens up a drawer and his pants, shoes, and everything are in that drawer. So he puts on his pants and his shoes and a t-shirt. He walks out into the lobby, finds it abandoned, and actually sees a couple dead people that are rotting
Hmm.
all around on the floor. So he doesn't know what's going on, and he's constantly, he's like, help, is anybody around? He comes up to a set of double doors. Now, in the comic, the double doors are closed with a 2x4 through the handles.
Okay.
He slides the 2x4 out, and a couple walkers come out and try to attack him. They end up pushing him down the stairs, and he gets out another set of double doors and closes it with his belt from his pants. In the in the show, he walks up to the double doors. The double doors are chained shut with a padlock, so he can't get in. But the doors can open a little, and he sees like hands, but you can tell that they're not healthy humans or whatever. They're human hands, but they're not healthy. You can tell like they're decayed or something. And then he leaves the hospital. On his way to the hospital, he ends up taking a bike. He runs into a dead, well, a walker, but it can't walk. It's laying on the ground. It can't get up.
Yeah.
In the
Half of
comic, it's only skeleton except for the head. In the show, it's just the upper torso, like the legs are gone.
Okay.
He basically walks to his house and then rides a bike partway to his house. He goes in to discover that there's personal items have been removed from the house. So he's sure that his wife and son left on their own. Because if people were going to rob stuff, they wouldn't take personal items like pictures or things like that. And then in both, he's sitting out front and he gets hit on the head with a shovel.
Mm.
It ends up, it's Dwayne, which is Morgan's son, thinking he's a walker. And then once he wakes up, Morgan explains the whole situation. Now, the difference in the explanation is, well, they were in both explanations, they were told to go to the bigger cities. In the show, he thinks, well, they probably went to Atlanta because that's closest. In the comic, it's a 5-hour drive to Atlanta, but he figures they went to Atlanta because her parents live in Atlanta.
Okay.
So that's why he chooses to go to Atlanta. They go to the police station and Rick opens it up with the keys because he explains that he's a cop and that is actually in the show, they thought he had a bandage on his side of his chest and they asked him what the injury was from because they think maybe it's a bite.
Mm.
And he says, no, it's a gunshot. What do you mean a bite? He didn't understand. So then they go to the police station. He gets in, he gives Morgan a couple guns and some ammo. He says if a shovel or a knife will kill him, I'm sure a gun will be easier. In the comic, he takes a few guns and ammo. In the show, he takes all of the guns and ammo. Loads them up in a police car. He has them in a bag and then he puts them in a police car. And in the comic, Morgan is staying because he thinks a small town will be better than a city against these walkers. In the show, Morgan's staying until he can get the courage to put his wife down. Because his wife has turned into a walker. So Rick leaves and goes and heads toward Atlanta. About halfway, he trades his car for a horse, because he runs out of gas. And he runs out of gas and he goes up to a farm. Now, it's a pretty eerie sound. It's a pretty eerie sight. These two people that own the farm, the husband and wife, decided to, we're going to call it opt out. And their bodies were massively decayed. So then he goes into the city. Once he's into the city on the horse, they're attacked by a bunch of walkers. The horse gets spooked and he falls off. In the show, he drops the big bag of guns. In the comic, he doesn't. Now, here's where it starts to get a lot different. In the show, he climbs inside of a tank. Glenn calls him on the radio. And they come up with a plan to make a distraction, and then Rick can get out and run down the alley and meet Glenn. They go into a building. Him and Glenn go into the building, and you meet more of Glenn's group. And some of them do not exist in the comics. I'm sure I'm going to butcher her name. It's JK'z. JACQUI. And then also in there is Morales. Morales is also not on the show, and T-Dog is in the building. He's not in the comic. And then they hear a gunshot, and the gunshot is upstairs, up on the top of the building. They go up and you meet Merle Dixon. Merle is not in the comic.
Ah.
Some peace.
Well, a racial, him and T-Dog, and you can guess what race T-Dog is. Merle is a redneck, basically. They get into a racial-induced argument, which turns into a physical fight. And Rick ends up handcuffing Merle to a pipe. Well, then they're trying to come up with a plan to leave the city. And when they're getting ready to go, he goes, T-Dog, of all people, says, what do we do about Merle? We can't just leave him here. He goes, here. Rick hands him the key. And he says, when we have a plan and we're ready, you can unlock him and we can leave. So they grab a walker from outside that's already been killed, and they gut it. They rip it apart, and they put it all over their bodies. Rick and Glenn, because Rick's thinking they don't attack each other. They all make sound, but they don't attack each other. Maybe it's the smell, because they definitely have a different smell than we do. So that works. They're walking right past all the walkers, and the walkers are smelling them and not attacking them. Well, then their idea is they're going to go get this box van and figure out a distraction and then drive the box van back in, and everybody can load up in it, and then they drive away. Well, it starts to rain, washing off all the walker stuff, all the walker guts. So they have to run and fight. And when they end up making it, no problem, and they come up with a distraction, Rick drives the van back in and gets everybody out, except Merle. T-Dog goes to try to unlock him and trips, drops the key, and it goes down a drain.
Oh, no.
So the key's gone. But he's got to go, so he leaves. But when he leaves, he chains and padlocks the door so the walkers can't get up to him. So at least he kept them, tried to keep them protected. Then they leave and they head back to camp. In the comic, Glenn is in the city alone. Saves Rick. They climb up a building, they jump from one building to the next building, and then climb down and get out. So now they get back, they're heading back to camp. They arrive at the camp and Rick is reunited with his family and Shane. Now, here's kind of where things change a little. It's later, well, they explain in the show that the hospital was supposed to evacuate him, but Shane went back to get him and thought he was dead. Thought Rick had died when when the electricity went out. So, but he still made it so no one could get into the room easily. And then he left. So in the show, they thought he was dead already. Not that that justifies the next part. In the comic, the hospital was supposed to evacuate him to Atlanta when he was healthy enough to transport. They weren't supposed to all leave.
Okay.
So the other thing that's discovered is that Lori, who is Rick's wife, has had an affair with Shane. In the comic, it was a one-time thing. She was lonely and whatnot, blah, whatever. In the show, it was a little bit more of a relationship starting. And that's real important for a little later. So that's just discovered later. Now, in the show, the next day, Daryl returns. Now, I'm going to say something about Daryl before I even say, no, Daryl was also not in the comics. When the show was casting and doing auditions, Norman Reedus, who plays Daryl Dixon, tried out for Merle Dixon, but Michael Rooker got the part. You know who Michael Rooker is?
Yep.
You ever seen Guardians of the Galaxy? He's the guy in Guardians of the Galaxy that has the arrow that he plays a flute, and it's like a magical arrow. When he plays the music, it goes wherever he wants it to go. He's a pretty famous actor as well. But they liked Norman Reedus so much that they created a character, Daryl Dixon. Now, he wasn't supposed to be in the show that long.
Huh.
Everybody, the fans loved him probably from the get-go, probably because of one of his opening lines, one of his very first things he ever said. But it got so bad that there was a petition signed and there was actually a movement and it was called, "If Daryl Dies, We Riot." And basically it was saying, if you read into it, it said, if you kill off Daryl, we'll stop watching. And after later on the show, after Rick exits the show for personal reasons, the actor's personal reasons, Norman Reedus was reportedly offered $20 million to remain on the show.
Oh,
So that's just a little sidebar thing with him.
he's a
Now,
great character too.
yeah. Now, when you first meet Daryl, the group is hearing a walker, but it's not coming toward them or nothing. They go out and they find it, and it's eaten on a deer. The deer has 2 arrows stuck into it. And they end up kicking and stomping the walker, and then Daryl comes out of the woods and he goes, "Ah, I was tracking that thing. That's my deer." But that's not the best line. After, he looks at it and he goes, "Hey, do you think we can just cut around it?" That's the line that probably everybody fell in love with him immediately. And then the walker starts to move and he goes, "Guys, come on, you guys know better. You know you gotta kill its head." So he shoots it in the head with an arrow with his crossbow.
After he carves it out.
Well, no, he
Oh,
did not. They agreed that you couldn't. They all agreed you couldn't eat it.
Oh.
So now, at any point, if you guys have a question or something you want to talk about that I've said already, just let me know. So in the show, then Daryl discovers that Merle was left handcuffed on top of a building. But it's also discovered that they need more guns. And Rick says, "I have more guns. I dropped the bag in the city." So Daryl, Glenn, Rick, and T-Dog plan to go back into the city, get Merle and the bag of guns. In the comic, the next morning, the girls, some of the women from the camp, are doing laundry at the river. They use the river to to do the laundry, and on their way back, a walker comes up onto them and almost gets one of the women named Donna, who's not in the show, only in the comic. And they end up killing the walker and whatnot. And first, Rick tells Shane, "I don't think we should be near the city. I think we need to move farther away from the city." And Shane really gets heated about it. Rick and Shane have this conversation several times in the comic about moving away from the city, and Shane's totally against it because when the military comes to help, they're going to start in these big cities and they'll find us faster if we're right here. So Rick says, "Okay, then we need more guns." So they go, just Rick and Glenn are going to go get the guns at a gun store. They ask Jim, who's from Atlanta, where the gun store is, and they find it on the map and they walk into town. But before they walk in, they cover themselves in walker guts. That's the difference.
Yeah.
In the show, they did it to get out of the city. In the comic, they do it to get into the city. They end up getting the guns and they come back. And then in the comic, they train everybody to shoot the guns outside of camp. In the show, they don't train everybody to use the guns until they're at the farm, which is much later. So in the comic, one night they're sitting around, they killed a deer or something. They ended up killing an animal and they were cooking it and eating it. And it was just after dark. Amy and Andrea are sisters that had car troubles and were picked up by Dale in his RV. Amy is going to use the bathroom and gets attacked by a walker and bit on the neck. And a whole group of walkers come out and they have to kill them, kill all of them. And then, of course, Amy dies. And then before she comes back, Andrea puts her down. Her own sister puts her down. In the show, while Rick, Daryl, T-Dog, and Glenn are in the city, they're eating a fish fry that Andrea and Amy caught a bunch of fish. And they're eating the fish when the walkers attack. And Rick and the rest come back just as the attack is going on, and they help. But Amy is also bit in that one. Now, so is Jim. who's the guy that's from Atlanta, he gets bit as well. He survives for a couple days, but the fever, the fever's really killing him. In the comic, he makes the decision. The reason I got out, because basically the reason he got out of the city was while the walkers were eating his wife and kids. He was able to escape. So he says, I want you to take me back to the city and just leave me and let me turn and let me join my family. In the show, they decide, okay, we can't stay here. And they make the decision, so where are we going to go? Shane wants to go to Fort Benning, Georgia. Rick wants to go to the CDC because he said if anybody's working on a cure, it's the CDC. So they decide to go to the CDC. Now, probably not in this episode, this is going to mean anything, but it will when we get later in the story. Morales is one of the guys that Rick met in Atlanta with the group. Morales, his wife, and their kids decide, we're not going with you guys. We're going to take our own car. We're going to go to Birmingham to be with our family. That's where our family lives. They live outside the city on a big farm. They should be protected. We're going to go to them. So they leave. That's important for much later. So they leave and they're heading to the CDC. When they get to the CDC, at first the guy doesn't let them in. Then they get let into the CDC. And there's only one doctor there. They said, well, where's everybody else? Well, they left. When it all started, they stayed for a while. Then they all left. They wanted to be with their families. I stayed here, working, trying to figure out what caused it, how to stop it, all of that. He even shows them like a little neurological video of how your brain works. And he said, this is, I don't know what he called them. It's not victim. But it's basically a volunteer that had been bitten. He watched their brain functions and then they died from the fever and the brain stopped working. So you didn't see it no more. Then he fast forwarded it to when they became a walker. And only the lower part of the brain was working. The part that runs your legs, your arms, your mouth, not what makes you, but what operates your body, runs your body. And then he shot it. You could see the bullet go through in the image. Basically, he told them when that door closes, it won't open again. They stay there for a couple days. I don't know. Maybe it's got to be at least 2 days they stay there. He feeds them, lets them shower, all of that, because they have their own system that runs off of fuel. But Dale looks up at the wall one day and he
Uh-oh. George, you still there?
The Walking Dead got him.
Oh, no, George turned into a walker. Oh, well,
He got bit. He got bit.
I think I'm frozen and see, I must have froze right there because all of you guys look frozen to me.
we thought you just got bit by a walker.
No, that's not happening. My daughter says that I'm prepared for it. So
Continue.
anyway,
10 minutes, George.
okay. So with that, he looks at the clock and he says, why is it counting down? What happens when it gets to 0? And he says, well, that's when we run out of fuel. Our air is gone. like oxygen or because they're underground in this part. He says our oxygen is gone, and it's a safe haven for the diseases that we work on, the infectious diseases we work on in here. The place basically will explode when it hits zero. To not let any of these diseases out. So they're like, well, we don't want to stay here. Let us out. He goes, I can't. I told you once those doors close, I can't open them again. Now, kind of a comic, funny thing having to do with Daryl. He has an axe. He goes and he starts beating on the one door that actually takes him upstairs. And the doctor says, or the scientist says, that door is made to withstand a rocket launcher blast. And Daryl charges at him with the axe held up and says, but I'll bet your head's not.
Wow.
They stop him. They don't let him kill the doctor.
Jeez.
They end up convincing the doctor. He opens the door, but he says, the doors up top, I can't open. I have no control over them. So do, whatever you can do, but I can't open them. Well, Andrea decides she's staying. She says, this way I know my fate. I choose my own fate by staying here. JK'z also decides to stay. And she says, I don't want to see no more death. I don't want to see this anymore. I want it to be over. Well, Dale, who's gotten close, well, like Andrea and Amy kind of brought him back, like he was depressed because he lost his wife and everything. And because he's an older gentleman that's retired. And he doesn't want her to leave. No, he doesn't want her to stay. So eventually he says, okay, you're staying, I'm staying. So then they both decide, she decides, okay, we're leaving. I'm not staying. I'm not having your death on my hands. But up top, Rick and them are trying to get out. Like they're using guns. They try to shoot the windows, which are bulletproof. They tried to break it with an axe. They tried to break it with a chair. Nothing's working. Well, Carol, who's there with her daughter, says, hey, Rick, when I washed your clothes when you first arrived, I found this in your pocket, and hands him a grenade that he got from inside the tank. He took it off of a soldier inside the tank. So they set the grenade and then it blows the glass. They get out and they take off. And they watch the CDC blow up. Now, in the comic, a lot different happens before they even leave. Rick and Shane get into it again. And this time, Lori attacks Shane and scratches him on the face and says, stay away from my family. Well, then Shane goes to walk off. And Rick decides to follow him. And then Shane threatens him with the gun. And then Carl, Rick's son, who's about 10 years old and became a pretty good shooter, shoots Shane in the neck. And he dies, and they bury him. And then they decide to leave, that they need to find a safer place. How close are we, Jeff?
You got 6 minutes.
Okay. So as they're driving away, and as they're driving, and they end up, they're driving at night, but they're looking for a place to stop. And they're all crammed into the RV. They're looking for a place to stay for the night. And then in daylight, they can find a safer place. Well, they run into like a roadblock, a bunch of cars that are across the road. So they're like, well, we gotta clear the cars. As they're clearing the cars, a group of people are walking up. and they held up their guns and they told them to stop and whatnot. And well, they say something to see if it's a walker, and the guy talks back. So they're like, okay, they're not walkers. It was Tyrese and his daughter and her boyfriend. In the show, you don't meet Tyrese until much later. And they feed, Tyrese helps them move the cars. Tyrese is a rather big guy, and we later find out that he's actually a former NFL football player. He wasn't a great football player. He wasn't on the team that long, and then he got dropped to the practice squad. But nonetheless, he was like a linebacker on a pro team. And then Tyrese and the two younger, his daughter and her boyfriend, decide to sleep in the car, not in the RV with everybody else, because he says, let's be honest, other than, you guys have been nice, but can I trust you? You gotta earn my trust just like I gotta earn yours. He says, agreed. And then the next day, they find a gated community. And they're like, well, this is perfect. They go in and they clear one of the houses, and they stay in that house overnight. The next day, they go outside to look at other houses, and Donna gets attacked by walkers and eaten. Well, they kill her. And the rest of them, they all decide, okay, we can't stay here, so we go to leave. We have to leave. So they get everybody together and they leave. And then they're out on the road again, still looking.
So who are they looking for?
They're just looking for a safe place to stay.
Oh, okay.
Where,
yeah,
like the gated community would have been good if every house didn't have the dead in it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Yep.
Yeah, they're just looking for a safer place. One day, they're running low on their supplies, and most of their supplies are like canned food, stuff that's not perishable. So Rick and Tyrese have become pretty close friends at this point. And Carl, Rick's son, go out to do some hunting. When they're out hunting, Carl gets shot. And Otis comes out. He hears the two guys yelling, and this guy named Otis comes out, and he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you guys were I thought you guys were the dead." And they end up, Rick wants to kill him, of course. And he says, "Hey, if about a half a mile away is the farm I'm staying at. The guy there knows how to, I don't think he says he's a doctor.
Vet or something.
But he said, he ends up he's a veterinarian. But I don't even think he says that he's a veterinarian. He just says that he can help him." So Rick, Otis, and Carl, Rick's carrying Carl, head toward the farm. Tyrese goes back to tell everybody at the RV, and Otis told him how to get there by the road. And they go to the farm, and Herschel is the owner of the farm, and he's a veterinarian, or he used to be a veterinarian. He hasn't done it in years because he decided to take over his father's farm. He doesn't, on the comic, he does an operation on him, but they don't need all the stuff that they did in the show. The show's a little different. On the show, they're on the highway and they run into a traffic jam. They have to clear the cars so they can get through. Well, a herd of walkers walks through, so they all have to hide because they don't want to shoot them all. So they all hide. Well, in the in Haydn, Sophia, who is Carol's daughter, gets separated and has to run because a couple walkers are following her. And Rick goes after her. He catches up to her and hides her next to a river in like a little, like almost like a small cave right at the edge of the river. And he says, you stay here, I'll get rid of them, and then I'll come back for you. If you have to leave, this is the way you head. When he comes back, she's not there. So they start searching for her. While they're out searching for her, Rick, Shane, and Carl go hunt. No, they're not hunting. They went a different way than everybody else. Everybody else was headed back. And Otis, they run into a deer. And Carl almost walks right up to the deer. And then a shot rings out. The deer falls. And then Carl falls. The bullet came through the deer and into Carl. Then Otis comes on and goes, oh, I didn't mean to. I didn't see you guys behind the deer. And then he takes all three of them to the farm. And they meet Herschel, and Herschel starts working on Carl. But he's going to have to go deeper. But Rick says, well, Lori needs to know. So
Hey,
Maggie, yeah.
let's just take a commercial break and we'll come right back.
All right. Sounds good. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, we are short one guest. She just was not feeling well. So she bowed out for the second half.
She's out there dying.
Yeah. So before we start back in, any comments or questions about what we talked about in the first half?
So just for me, so obviously I didn't watch the first 2, 3, or 4 seasons.
How can you start in the middle?
And not go back and watch it. I actually started before you ask your question, or your comment. I actually didn't start it until they were in Alexandria. Originally,
Okay.
they were already in Alexandria.
I started really late. I was a late bloomer too. But...
My youngest daughter watched it, and she watched all of it. And she had me every Sunday. At the time, we still had cable TV. Now we stream everything. But we had I DVR'd. She had me DVR every Sunday night. And he would watch it and then delete it. Well, she got busy with school and work and sports and didn't get a chance to watch it. One Saturday, I'm sitting in the living room, not really watching anything. We were watching a show and then it ended and something else came on. Me and my son were in the living room. She came out and she said, can I watch my show? She watched 5 episodes. By the end of the 5th episode, I was hooked. So I had to start watching it. Well, then they said, well, they talked about what Rick had done and what Carol had done. I'm like, I said to her, I was like, what did they do? And she goes, I could tell you, but it'd be better if you went back and watched it. So I went back and I watched the whole thing from the beginning.
Eventually I will, so similar to you, my daughter at the time, she was wearing, she was talking about Walking Dead. She had a shirt and all that. And I'm like, what is this? And at first I'm like, okay, it just seems really stupid, but I'm like, oh, this is really, really cool. So, and then I just watched it all the way up until COVID hit. But that was the only thing I wanted to say is all the stuff that you were saying is obviously new to me. So, eventually Jen and I will watch it and it'll make more sense.
Go back and watch it. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
So when I started watching it, I was I didn't have that channel. I didn't have cable or something. I can't remember what the situation was. And everybody was talking about it. I'm like, oh, what's the big deal? Zombies. Who cares? Zombies. Another zombie show.
That's what I thought too.
And so without having cable, I actually bought 2 or 3 seasons off of like eBay. So
Okay.
I actually put, it was DVDs, and I'm like watching like the first couple episodes. I'm like, well, you can't just stop at 1. We have like 5 on here. It was like the
Right.
first time actually like binge watching like something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's what I did when I went back and rewatched it. When I watched it from the beginning, I binged watched. I probably watched 3 or 4 episodes on my tablet a day.
yeah, we didn't want to like stop watching. We're like, oh man, we gotta go to bed.
Yeah. Or I gotta go. Well, at the time I worked overnight, so I was like, oh, I gotta go to work. But
Anyways, yeah.
yeah, Eric,
Yeah.
anything?
Yeah, I've never really seen it, but you've explained it really well. It makes me want to watch more episodes. I did
It's
one
yeah.
episode over the weekend.
Yeah,
Was,
yeah, yeah.
um,
Like I said, once if you watch it, you either like it or you don't, and if you
Right.
like it, you're hooked.
You know what it reminded me of when I first started watching it the other day, just for the one episode, is the one movie there that the show geez, it just left my mind. Oh geez, Keanu Reeves. He's in a movie where he's like a killer. Geez, I had it in my mind and I'm sorry, I don't have.
Oh, the
Yeah, it's like
the contract killer one.
yeah, like there's like 3 or 4 different ones.
Yeah.
I know what you
remember
mean.
it.
John Wick.
Yes.
Yeah.
John Wick.
That's
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
That's what it reminded me of when I first started watching it.
Yeah.
Because of all the episode I watched was a lot of knives and a lot of things, people dying and stabbing, and that's kind of what it reminded me of. And then it got different.
Not too much info. Not too much info. If that's season 3 of Daryl Dixon.
Right. I won't. Nope. That's
See,
all I get.
no, I
No
tried
spoilers.
It's definitely different.
Yeah, I didn't even know that came out, so I guess I need to catch up on that.
Yeah, that's
but
they're on. I know season 1 and 2 you can watch on Netflix.
Yeah.
Season 3 apparently it's on Prime, but it's also on. Like I can literally watch it every Sunday night on AMC Plus. That's the only reason I have it.
right.
Is for the new shows that are coming out for The Walking Dead.
Okay.
Only
So that's
Walking
just
Dead.
Daryl's story, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did they do Carol?
Carol's in it.
Darn.
Yeah, Carol's in it. Actually, season 2 is called Daryl Dixon, The Book of Carol.
Okay.
Jeff, were you trying to talk? I'm sorry, I was talking over you.
Okay.
So yeah.
So like how you explained it, I think you did a great job explaining this comics versus the show. That's a lot to remember, but I think the difference is with the comic and the show is that with a comic book, they have to keep it short, simple, and you have to use your imagination.
The comic really isn't that long. You could probably read the whole comic in depending on how many hours you read, you could probably read it in a couple days.
Right.
Easily.
Yeah, but you have to use your imagination a lot more because you're not watching a movie, so it's that's why they're not going to have it detailed down to the
Yeah, for sure. Now, the only Walking Dead show I had a hard time getting into was Fear the Walking Dead.
I was going to ask you guys about that.
I tried watching some of it. The early episodes, I wasn't into. But the later episodes, later on, Morgan, and actually, what's weird, I don't know the actor's name who plays Morgan.
Yeah, he's British, I think.
Yeah.
Most of them are British, actually.
Yeah. Fear the Walking Dead was his idea. That was, and the producers loved the idea. Later, after the Negan Wars, Morgan joins Fear the Walking Dead.
okay.
And later on, a little bit later, Dwight joins Fear. He joins Fear the Walking Dead. Dwight's the one who had his face burned.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Who actually
He
portrays,
red
he
hair.
portrays, and he portrays Negan. Yeah.
Just to give everybody heads
yeah.
up, Jen, I don't want to spoil it. We watched up until like COVID hit, which was the season around the Negan.
Whisper.
Remember he got cut in the neck, and Carol and all that. He used Negan to go kill what's her name, and then they were trapped in the subway.
Okay.
With the woman, Glenn's wife.
Yeah. And, Maggie. Yeah.
Maggie, and that's we never watched it after that. So that, I just wanted.
Okay.
Eric is like, what?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's all right.
So now before we get started, I had forgotten one detail that happened that ends up being a pretty major difference between the show and the comic. While at the gated community, even though they were only there for a day or so, Donna finds extra blankets in a closet. And she's going around because it's getting winter time, even though it's in Georgia, it can still get cold at night. She's taking the extra blankets around, seeing if anybody wants one. And she opens the door to where Andrea's, I guess you would say room was. And her and Dale are in the middle of something. So she closes the door and says, well, I guess they don't need the blanket. Yes. In the show, even though Dale is retired, he's a retired salesman, so he's probably in his 60s or 70s. Andrea's in her late 20s, mid to late 20s. They have a relationship in the comic. In the show, it's much different. Dale's trying to make decisions for her, and she's not liking it at all. So they have completely opposite relationships. So now, at this point, they made it to the farm, and in the comic, Tyrese brings everybody to the farm. In the show, Maggie rides her horse out, meets up with them, brings Lori back, and then the rest of the group continue on to where everybody is, and they come out. They come out to the farm.
I guess, sorry, George, but yeah, that's where Maggie comes into the picture. Is Herschel's daughter. And
yeah. She's in the comic. She's Herschel's youngest daughter. In the show, she's his oldest daughter.
God,
that's the big difference there. Now, gonna kind of, skip around a little bit, because in the comic, they basically heal, heal Carl. Carl's starting to get better. They discover that Herschel is keeping walkers in the barn, and in the comic, they basically the walkers get out and they kill them, and then they're going to live in the barn. And then at some point, Herschel and Rick get into it, and Herschel says, you know what? I never wanted you guys to stay anyways. Get out. And they leave. I believe Glenn stays because him and Maggie have fallen in love. So he stays at the farm. And Rick and the group have to leave. In the show, a lot more happens. And when they discover the walkers in the barn, they all have a fit, and actually Shane breaks the lock and lets the walkers out. As the walkers come, as the walkers come out, they're all killing them. And they're basically telling Herschel, Shane shoots the first one in the chest and says, if they're people, could they still keep coming at me? And he shoots it again. And he says, could it still keep coming at me if they were human? They're not human anymore. And then he shoots them in the head and they die. Well, then all the shooting's done, and they're all sitting there, and a lot of them are traumatized. And then one last walker walks out of the barn. Sophia, the little girl they've been looking for weeks. walks out, and Rick ends up putting her down and whatnot, and they bury her. Big difference in the comic is Sophia is alive until the end of the comic, to the end of the series. So that's a huge difference there. So now on the show, Rick and Shane, well, they run into this other guy, this guy that's part of a group. They capture him basically. And because his guys abandoned him when he's injured. And they're trying to figure out what to do with him. Because if he escapes, he's going to bring his crew back and they're going to take over the farm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Shane decides to take it upon himself to let the guy, to take the guy out and basically kill him. And he does kill him. But he shoots him in the chest or stabs him or something. I don't remember exactly how he killed him, but it wasn't a headshot. So now they're out looking for the guy. Shane says, oh, the guy overpowered me and knocked me down. And they go out looking for him. And Rick and Shane get into it again. And Rick ends up having to shoot Shane. And he shoots him in the chest to kill him. Carl walks up and says, Dad, what happened? What happened? And he told him. And then Shane becomes a walker. And then Rick knows that what Dr. Jenner told him was true. Everybody has the virus. No matter how you die, you become a walker, not just by a bite.
Talking about a bite, I'm getting bit.
Yeah. Cat's attacking him again.
Yeah, he broke in the room.
One part I skipped. At the farm, Dale gets bit by a walker, and they have to put him down. So then in the show, after Shane is dead, and they realize that a bite, that you can turn any way, no matter how you're killed. Some walkers attack from the gunshot. They all hoard around, and to lure them away, Rick tries to start a fire, and from the fire, the whole farm catches on fire, and they have to leave the farm. And now I'm getting bit. I think my cat's acting like yours now. So anyway, they have to leave the farm and they meet back on the highway, but they all leave separately. They don't see what happened to Andrea. Like Andrea didn't make it out. They saw her fall down around a bunch of walkers and they never saw her get back up. So they go back to the farm. No, they go back to the highway and they meet up and they say, okay, we got to leave. Now, in the comic, they're still looking for another safe place because they got kicked off the farm. I think it's Andrea and Dale are out walking around looking for things and whatnot, and they see the prison.
Oh, yeah.
They see the prison and they bring everybody there and they're like, well, we can clear it and we can make it safe. So they do that so they can have a good night's sleep, but they're not in the building yet. In the show, Daryl and Rick are out hunting and they find the prison and they do the same thing. They clear it and then they get into the prison. And then after they've been there a couple of days, they find some prisoners that are still alive that were locked in the cafeteria with lots and lots of food.
Oh, wow.
So they have a good meal. In the comics, the one, I don't know his name, but he shows them around the prison. He purposely avoids a few places in the prison to show them, which is important later. In the show, when they find the prisoners locked in the cafeteria, they're kind of busy because Herschel got bit on the leg, and Rick puts him on one of the rolling cafeteria tables, and takes his hatchet. They put a tourniquet around his leg and they cut Herschel's leg off above above the bite.
Oh,
So they get him back out, and I know Carol has learned a little bit, but I don't remember if it's Carol or if it's someone else that saves his leg. That saves him and he ends up living. I don't remember who exactly does it.
wow.
Um,
Cuts it right off with an axe?
yeah, yeah,
Oh.
cuts it off. Because he figures if I cut it off and I cut it off quickly enough,
Yeah.
I can get it before the infection moves up his body.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah. So, yeah, but I don't remember, like I said, I don't remember exactly who saves him. Now, I knew I was gonna forget one minor thing, only because I just kind of
not Daryl, right?
just realized it. I was looking at the comic the other day to get ready for the show, and I realized that it happened in both. In the show at the farm, before the farm burns, Beth, who is Maggie's youngest sister, tries to kill herself. And they stop her, of course, and she's laying in bed and she goes, "Look, I don't want to see this world anymore." And Maggie says, "Well, what about Dad? What about me? You're going to leave me in this world like this?" And she goes, "No, I'd like you and me to do it together." So there's like the suicide pact, even though they don't go through with it. Okay. Now in the comic, Tyrese's daughter and her boyfriend have a suicide pact. They're going to shoot each other. Well, he pulls the trigger, she does not. So basically, when Tyrese discovers, when they hear the gunshot and Tyrese goes there, it's in the middle of the night. Tyrese goes into the area where they were, and Rick ends up following. He tells everybody else, "Stay there. I'll figure out what's going on. If we need help, we'll call." He goes in, and Tyrese had found him and figured out what happened. So Tyrese basically beats the boy to death.
Wow.
And Rick sees it. And Rick goes, "Wow." He goes, "Well, I probably would want to do the same thing." He goes, "Yeah, I'm going to wait till he comes back. Then I'm going to kill him again."
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's much more, a lot of things are much more graphic in the comic. I know some of the spots in the show are pretty graphic.
Yeah.
Way more graphic in the comics.
Hmm.
So that's the comparison, that they did the same thing.
Yeah.
Just not at the same time.
Okay.
Now, so Rick says, "You know what?" In the comic, Rick says, "You know what? Even though Herschel kicked us off his farm, we have to tell him that we found a safer place."
Yeah.
So him and Dale go back, but Rick goes, and they've had some walker traffic at the farm since he's been gone. And they decide, okay, so Otis's girlfriend, they're broken up now. She wants to go to the prison. Maggie and Glenn go to the prison, and so do Herschel and his son go to the prison. Otis decides, "I'm going to stay on the farm and I'm going to take care of the cattle. And then when you guys figure out what we're going to do with the cattle at the prison, you can come back and get me and we'll bring the cattle to the prison." So that's how Herschel gets to the prison in the comic.
Wow.
Now, I'm trying to think of whose leg. Oh, Dale. Rick and Dale are like a team in the prison, and I think it's Glenn and Tyrese, and they're just searching parts of the prison they haven't checked out yet, and seeing if it's safe or whatnot. And Dale gets bit in the leg by a walker. And Rick cuts off the leg. They tourniquet it. The other two come running, and together they hold him down, and he cuts off his leg. They apparently, I believe they are in the comic, they already tried it once before. Oh, I know. Alan, who is Donna's husband in the comic, he gets bit and they cut off his leg, but they didn't know what to do after you cut off his leg. They didn't know how to treat it. So he ended up dying.
Oh.
They did the same thing. They cut off the leg of Dale. They go back and Herschel's there. And Herschel says, well, you did fine at the actual leg problem. The problem is the veins and the arteries. And one of the prisoners' name is Axel, and he has really long, scruffy hair. And he says it's not horse hair, but he pulls some of Axel's hair out of his head and uses it to tie the veins and arteries up.
What?
It's kind of like catgut. Kind of like using, like you remember what, like some of the older, like MASH. Like, have you ever seen MASH? They use catgut. We don't use catgut anymore, but they used to use like catgut to suture, because once it's healed, the catgut will rot away.
By the way,
and the body will dispose of it. You know, your body will dispose of it. So that way you don't have to open, like if you're tying somebody's intestine closed, you don't want to have to open them back up to take the stitches out. The stitches will rot away. So that was the idea. So they saved Dale, and he's able, even though he only has one leg now, he's still alive. And then while in the comic, while they're out searching for gas, they're out getting gas out of the cars that are in the parking lot outside of the prison from all the workers or whatever that were at the prison. They see a helicopter going down, and they're like, helicopter? Who would be in a helicopter? We're years into the apocalypse. Who's got a helicopter that still works? So they decide to go to the crash. I don't remember how Michonne gets to the prison in the comic. In the show, it's a different time.
Do they get in that box? Do they get in the box truck that you mentioned earlier?
No, they get into a car. They get into a car, and they're driving toward where the helicopter crashed. Now, as they're driving, kind of a funny story, Rick says to Glenn, how did you get the car started? I don't see any keys in it. And he goes, well, I hot-wired it. And he goes, how did you know how to hot-wire it? You were a pizza delivery guy. He goes, well, on the side, I used to kind of steal cars once in a while when I was a little short on rent. He goes, oh. And Rick had said, well, I've done a few sketchy things here and there. And Michonne, sitting in the back seat, says, oh, great, I'm shacked up with criminals. Kind of a funny sidebar story. So they go and they find the crashed helicopter, but they don't see any bodies. And there's other footprints. So somebody must have gotten there first. So they follow the tracks as far as they can. And it's like, well, they have to have gone this way. And they went there and they find a town called Woodbury. And at Woodbury is where they meet the governor. That's what he calls himself, the governor. And seems nice, welcomes them all in, and takes them to a room. And in the room, he wasn't being nice. What he was going to use them for basically is walker bait. But he realizes that they must have a secured area, because Rick and Glenn are completely dressed in prison riot gear. So to try to get them to talk, he knows Rick's not going to talk. and tell them where they're from. He doesn't think Michonne is gonna, but he thinks the younger Glenn might tell them. So he takes Rick's arm and he cuts Rick's arm off.
Oh no, I was gonna.
Rick's right arm, he cuts off. So he takes him, the governor takes Rick to his doctor and says, fix him up.
Where's he cut it off? Right at like his shoulder, like right.
It's below the
shoulder or
elbow. It's below the elbow. It's
elbow?
probably like halfway down the forearm. Maybe even a little shorter. Maybe like 3 or 4 inches away from the hand. Is where he cuts it off. Just basically trying to scare them.
Jeez.
And he has his doctor fix up Rick. Make sure, he doesn't die. I don't want him to die. He puts Glenn into a room. In the room next door, he has Michonne. And this is where it gets way more graphic than the show.
The show, yeah.
He basically abuses her physically, sexually. But the idea is 2 reasons. Obviously he likes doing that. But second of all, Glenn's next door listening, hearing her scream and get hurt.
Yeah.
And she doesn't scream as much as you would think, because once you watch the show and you learn who Michonne is,
she's a badass.
Michonne's a badass.
Badass.
Yeah. Which is weird how she started. She started out as a lawyer. She was a lawyer before the apocalypse, but she became a badass after the apocalypse.
So she's a smart badass.
Yeah, basically. So when Rick wakes up, he tells the governor, says, oh, well, we just want to know where your prison is. And he goes, I'm not telling you. We weren't from a prison. We found that. We found that on a cop or whatever, the riot gear. He goes, well, Glenn already told us all about it. And you know what? Because he told us, we let him go. So the next scene in the comic is you see somebody running in riot gear. Turns out it's not Glenn. It was Tyrese. He put riot gear on, was going to try to go out and find him. Couldn't find him. Came back to the prison. Now, in the show, remember I said Andrea didn't make it, like they didn't see her leave the farm?
Oh, yeah. Really? Yeah.
She's walking through the woods and she's out of ammo. She's almost out of ammo. She has a little knife. She doesn't even have a very good knife or anything. And she's being basically attacked by walkers from all around. And all of a sudden, this image walks up with 2 walkers that are chained to her, but they have no teeth and they have no arms. And the person holding them has a sword. Well, actually, I guess technically it's a katana. And it's Michonne. And she kills all the walkers that are around Andrea and helps Andrea. And they start hanging out together.
Oh, okay.
Well, Andrea gets sick. Not from a walker bite or nothing like that. She just gets a cold. And she can barely talk. Well, they see the helicopter crash. They go to see the helicopter. And they see the governor and all those guys come in and take everything from the helicopter. And with that, and then all of a sudden, they're trying to hide. And she ends up killing her 2 walkers, who was actually her boyfriend and his best friend from before the apocalypse. And to quiet them down, she cuts their heads off because they're making too much noise and they don't want to get discovered. Well, then, just as they're getting ready to get up and leave, a gun is pointing at the back of them. It's Merle Dixon, who has joined up with the governor now. And a key thing I forgot to tell you, when Daryl and them go to look for Merle, they don't find him on top of the building. They only find his hand. He
Wow.
got a hacksaw that was laying near him and cut his hand off.
Oh God.
Well, now in place of his hand, there's like something strapped on and a knife sticking out of the thing. So basically just a knife looking like coming out of your fist. Except for it's not your fist, it's just a stump.
Wow.
So he takes Michonne and Andrea back to Woodbury. Now, Woodbury seems nice and whatnot, but Michonne doesn't want to stay. Andrea wants to stay and try it out. Michonne ends up leaving. But a couple days later, Maggie and Glenn are out looking for supplies. And they find formula because Lori at this point in the show has had the baby, but she had it cesarean and she died during pregnancy. But the baby survived. That's different than the comic, because in the comic, her and the baby survive, and later, something else happens in the comic with them. But so one of the things that they find is formula. And while they're coming out, Merle Dixon comes up to them and finds them, and he knows them. Well, he knows Glenn. He doesn't know Maggie, but he knows Glenn. And he captures them, basically, and is going to take them back to Woodbury. Well, Michonne sees it, grabs the supplies that they had, and walks to the prison because she heard them talking. Before Merle came up, she heard them talking about the prison, and she knew where it was. So she goes to the prison with carrying all the supplies. That's how she gets to the prison in there. And she says, I know where they are. And she takes them to Woodbury. And when they go to Woodbury, Daryl and Merle run into each other, and Daryl stays behind. And they actually, in the games that they have, they pit Merle and Daryl against each other, and they say one brother can stay, one brother dies, basically, for entertainment, entertainment purposes. Yeah. How are we on time?
We got about 5 minutes, but if this is going to go longer, we can take a commercial.
No, I'm coming up to a spot where I can probably stop, because I mean, if we do the whole thing, we're going to be here. You're going to not be have enough sleep for work tomorrow. Neither am I or anybody else. So
quick commercial break and then come right back so you can just finish. And if there was any questions,
yeah, take a commercial break and but make it a little bit longer. I got something I got to do.
Okay.
All right. So when you find the button. Okay, welcome back. We're just going to do a short part 3. It's going to be really short. I got a perfect spot to stop it before we do another episode. I don't know. It might be in a few weeks. It's not going to be next week. So in the show, like I said, Daryl and Merle are pitted against each other in the arena, against each other, and Rick and the group basically help them eventually get out. They come back to help them. As they're leaving, Michonne says, "I'll be back," and she goes back inside. That's in the show. In the comic, I got his name written down. I gotta look it up. It's Morales. Morales is one of the governor's guys. He comes in and he says to Oh, wait, in the arena, it's not Rick in the comic. It's obviously not Daryl against Merle. He's short a guy for the show that night. So he tells Michonne, I got away. I'll make it easier on you. I won't attack you. I'll leave you alone for the night if you replace the guy in the show. He says no killing or nothing like that. However, they still give her her sword. Well, she gets out to the arena and she literally cuts the other guy's head off, and all the walkers, they have walkers that they have chained in a circle just for entertainment purposes. And she ends up killing all the walkers. So they grab her and they take her back to her cell. And he's really angry and he abuses her, beats her up some more. And then he says, okay, I need to go get some sleep. I'll be back in a few hours to continue. And he leaves. Morales comes into the infirmary and says to Rick, he goes, I'm getting you out of here. He goes, what this guy does is, yes, we do get supplies and we are protected, but I don't like his methods. So I'm going to get you guys out of here. And he goes, well, I'm not leaving without my friends. Well, the doctor and his assistant, she also decides, I'm leaving too. I'm going with you. We're all going to go. He says, okay, let's go. And Rick says, I'm not leaving without my friends. And he goes, oh, you mean this guy? And Glenn walks in. And they say, okay, well, where's Michonne? And they said, I know where she's at. And they go and get her. As they're leaving, the doctor is attacked. And he ends up dying. And as they're leaving, Michonne says, I'll be back, and goes back in. He said, I'll catch up to you guys out on the road. So that's kind of the two differences. Is one, they just escape on their own, and then in the other one, Morales helps them escape. I think right there is a good place to stop.
Okay.
Just going to let everybody know that when we go into whenever we do the next one, the first part for the comics, well, for both is a little graphic, but for the comics, it's really graphic.
Okay.
What happens inside Woodbury when the rest are leaving.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it was a pretty good show. I mean, we compared the two, some similar, some different. There's some things that happened early on that won't happen until later in the show.
Right.
Like in the show, Rick does not get his hand cut off by the governor. Technically, if you've watched all of the shows, he has had his hand cut off now. In The Ones That Live, which is a show after Walking Dead, he does get his hand cut off. But that's completely different. That's a completely different show, but it's part of the Walking Dead universe. So
I mean, I think we talked about it before. There's so many spin-offs of The Walking Dead that, I mean, yeah, you'd have to give up your full-time job just to keep up on everything. I think one of the things that I found very interesting is not only the stuff that I didn't know was, the whole Norman Reedus, the whole getting a thing together. If he wasn't back on the show, millions of people, right?
Yeah. I guess apparently it was a huge movement where the fans just fell in love with him from the first episode he was in. His first episode was either episode 3 or episode 4. Was the first time he was in the show, and they like I said, I don't know if it was that opening line, or maybe they knew Norman. Maybe some of them knew Norman Reedus from other shows.
Right. And, not only is Daryl Dixon one of my favorite characters, but also Michonne. I don't know. I just like Daryl Dixon. He's kind of like that. He's kind of quiet, kind of keeps to himself, but he's gonna fuck you if you.
Only Michonne thing I did not like was her last episode on The Walking Dead
When she left.
when she left.
Yeah.
get it.
I don't-
I get it. You're going after Rick.
Oh, no,
She was
no.
going to go try to find Rick. However, you have 2 kids that you're supposed to be taking care of.
Okay, yeah, okay.
I don't want to parallel this with anything, but you guys know where I'm.
I mean, and talking about all this makes me want to go back and just binge watch the whole entire thing, but because it was a really awesome show. The only time like I kind of got disinterested, but luckily the plot was better and it got me interested is after the whole Negan, right?
After Negan took over, it did slow down a lot.
No, I was like, after Negan did everything to him, smashed him over the head with his Lucille, and then like Rick slits his throat, and then they save him, and he turns into be a good guy. It was almost like one of those things where, to me, it seemed like they were grasping to keep the show going, and Negan was such a huge character that they had. There was no way that he was going to be able to come back from that. So, but what got me interested is him and Carol were talking, and Carol had a plan. I mean, I know I'm ruining it for Eric or anybody else who has not seen this part, but so, and then what's her name came along, the woman that shaved her head and was putting on the, that was interesting to me.
I think the reason they slowed it down was because they were trying to, because at the beginning of that season, after the Negan Wars had ended, and Andrew Lincoln, I think is that's his name, who plays Rick, had told the producers, because he's from
England.
I think he's from Australia.
Something like that, right?
Or New Zealand, one of those. And when he has off time from The Walking Dead, he goes home. It's summer here. It's winter there. So his kids are in school.
Right.
So he only sees them after school. He can't just take them out of school. And he wanted to spend time with his family. So he had announced it. So they were trying to figure out a way to get him out without killing him. Because they don't kill his character.
Right.
They were trying to figure out a new way to get him out off the show, but leave room for him to come back.
Yep.
Didn't he, the last episode that he was on, and I'm just trying to remember, he led all the walkers across the bridge and he blew it up.
Across the bridge and blew the bridge up, yeah. While Daryl was standing down on the ground, shooting all of the walkers that got too close, because he had to wait until they were all on the bridge to blow it. And the ones that were getting too close to Rick, he was shooting with arrows.
So before that, Rick had fallen off the horse. It was an accident or whatever, and he had gotten like something.
Something stabbed through his lower abdomen.
Okay,
right. The cool part about that episode was he kept almost like passing out and hallucinating, and you got to see a lot of the old characters. Now, I can't think of his name, guy who plays Herschel.
Yeah.
He's a famous actor.
Yeah, he did that show. That was the last recorded show for anything he ever did. He died a little while after that. The actor passed away a little while after that. So, yeah. But Shane got to come back. The guy who plays Shane got to come back, and a lot of the characters that had passed away got to come back.
Was he the one? Was he the guy that played in Fast and Furious that died? The main actor?
No.
You know what I'm talking about?
The guy which one are we talking about? The guy who plays Shane?
Paul?
Yeah.
Paul Walker.
Paul Walker. No.
Okay.
Well, the guy who plays Shane is in The Punisher.
Okay.
Yeah,
He's the actor from The Punisher. He's in a new show. I can't think of who the actor is that's with him.
Well, if you're talking about Herschel, his real name is Scott Wilson.
Scott Wilson, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he passed away not long after they did that episode.
Okay.
He may have even died before it aired.
Hmm.
And maybe at the end of the show it said in love and memory of Scott Wilson.
Scott Wilson. Okay.
So
But
when
I
I
don't remember.
I was trying to convince my sister to watch it, and she's like, zombie, zombie, zombie. I'm like,
Zombie.
it really isn't about zombie. It's like how
No.
to survive against
Yeah.
humans as well. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
each
When
season is
society,
about
basically
something.
when society breaks down, what people will do. I mean, it doesn't have to be a zombie apocalypse. What if World War III happens and the government collapses, all the governments collapse, and there's no law and order.
No Law and Order. Yeah.
What do people resort to?
Yeah.
Yes,
She's
just happens to be
okay.
there. When you die, you're not dead. You can come back and you can try to eat people. That's just an extra added thing with Walking Dead. But like I said, it could be set after a nuclear fallout.
Jeez, scared the heck out of me.
And then the whole, some of the beginning for me, I was wondering what is happening in other states and like what is happening in California or New York. And so when they were like thinking about doing spin-offs and like The World Beyond and like Fear the Walking Dead, at first it was like interesting to think about and to add in what their experiences was, are and being on the West Coast and East Coast and water and ships. Did they survive the ocean?
Right. Fear the Walking Dead is like Texas and West.
Right. That's what it took. Okay. That's.
You just mentioned it.
The World and Beyond.
The World Beyond started in Omaha, Nebraska, and actually, do you know where they walked to? They went to Ithaca.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Ithaca.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Now, I think it was supposed to be Cornell University, but they called it Ithaca University just so that way they didn't have to give credit. And we all know there's no Ithaca University. There's Cornell and there's Ithaca College.
Right.
There's no Ithaca University.
I think I watched the beginning of that one and the beginning of the other one. Now, the Fear the Walking Dead was California at first, right?
Yeah, it started in California and then they ended up making it to Texas. They migrated to Texas. I don't know if they came any farther east than Texas. I stopped watching it again and just haven't picked it back up yet.
Yeah, I stopped at the yacht or something they were on or something, I think.
I stopped
ship or yacht or something.
I stopped after there was a madman on the show and he somehow found nuclear codes and had a submarine that was docked off the shore of Texas shoot off a nuclear bomb.
Wow.
But it didn't land, it exploded in the air.
In the air.
Really?
So it didn't like completely contaminate the area, but it did contaminate the area. Not long after that, I stopped watching it.
So George, did you also watch, because it got us, like when you're into something like The Walking Dead and you're not able to binge it. So once I got caught up, you're waiting week to week and like you're waiting for 2 months and like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So when you're so excited about an episode, we were watching the Talking
Dead. Yeah.
Talking Dead.
The talk show that took place right after every episode of The Walking Dead. Now, the one
Killing
that
spiders,
the one that killed me the most, the end of the season going into it might have been the mid-season finale. I don't know, because I hadn't read the comic yet. was when we first meet Negan and he hits somebody with Lucille. You don't know who.
Yep.
And I'm like, and now we got to wait months upon
Yep.
months to find out who
That's
he
true.
killed.
Well, because they had everybody kneel, right?
Yeah.
And you did not know who was the first one to go.
Yeah.
All the conspiracy theories, because everybody's like, okay, if you line them up this way, and the redhead guy with the beard, remember they were like, it was him first, but then but then it was really Glenn first because his eyeball was hanging out, and he looked at Maggie and said, "Away."
Wow.
I think that was the most I've ever felt after like an episode like that was like, oh my God, I think I may have cried. I can't remember. Like
I
Glenn
didn't.
is so
Like
sweet.
I said, I didn't. Yeah, like I said, I didn't know. I hadn't read the comics, so I didn't know it was Glenn. But that's not to mean that was going to be Glenn because they have changed the comic anyway. And the only reason I knew they changed it from the comic was the Talking Dead, because somebody said, "Well, in the comic, this happened." Like they had mentioned that Sophia supposed to make it to the end. Well, I didn't know that Sophia died in season 2, so I didn't know she was supposed to make it to the end. And a lot of the deaths weren't supposed to happen. Like Carl wasn't supposed to die. Obviously, I already spoiled that because I said him and Sophia are married at the end.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, just a lot of the sidebar stories. When COVID had really hit, they did 4 or 5 episodes that didn't have as many characters in it. Did you see any of them?
I
think so.
Okay. They did one where it was just Daryl and this other woman that we just met. He ran into her, and that's where his dog, whose name is Dog, comes in, and there's an episode that's completely just about them. And that's while Daryl disappeared for a while and was looking for Rick, trying to track what happened to Rick. Because Daryl's a tracker. And he just kept running into a dead end. And the dead end was obviously he was put into an RV by the trash lady and taken and then flown away on a helicopter. That's why the trail ran dead.
Right.
It's because he didn't walk. He wasn't walking anymore. And then they did one on Negan's story, how he got, well, not really how he got to become who he was, the evil guy that he was when we first met him, but how he entered the apocalypse and how his wife died, and his wife died of cancer. His wife's name is Lucille.
That's what
he named the bat after his wife. In both.
And that was his real wife.
Yeah. It actually was. It was his real actress wife that played his wife in that episode.
I got to say, Dean Morgan played a hell of a role in Negan.
The only major difference between the actor and the image in the comic is, remember, Negan had a beard, and him and I think it was a joke for a while that him and Andrew Lincoln were having a best beard contest. Who could grow the better beard? He's clean shaven in the comic. He's clean shaven in the comic.
Okay.
Did any of you watch the Supernatural?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they did that. They had Lucille on the table one episode.
Yeah.
I'm way behind.
And so they did a combine. It was so cool. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Supernatural is actually a pretty good show. It's
I've heard about it, but I never watched it.
Yeah, I haven't watched all of it, but I've watched some of it. I have watched some of it, and that
I
that
didn't
series, man,
watch from
that
start to
series,
finish.
yeah,
It's
that
one where
series
you can
was a
go.
long,
Okay.
that series was a long running series.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, 'cause I remember me and Jennifer were watching it for a while, and the kids were a lot younger. And then when my oldest daughter was older, she was watching it. And I'm like, that show's still on?
Wow.
But yeah,
I think what I was gonna also say was just I guess you get so excited about episodes. You don't
yeah,
have that much anymore because of
right,
the, you know.
right. Now,
It's
and speaking of the side stories, there's they had a show. I don't remember what it was. I just said it a little earlier. The Ones That Live is about Rick and Michonne finding each other
I have
and
not
how they
seen
get
any of those.
back to the kids.
Oh.
Yeah.
oh, so it comes back around to where it's
Yeah, yeah. So it shows them like where Rick is now, and Michonne finds him, and then they what they do, what they go through to basically get back to the kids. And then
that's probably when they ended it. No. Or
yeah, and then
they go to another season.
there's Dead City, and there's 2 seasons of Dead City. And that's about Maggie and Negan. And Dead City is New York City.
yeah, that advertised.
Yeah. The weird thing is the actor and actress, of course, they're like really good friends.
Yeah.
But on the show, they hate each other basically because Negan killed her husband.
Poor Glenn.
Yeah. And then in the Daryl series, it starts in the Northeast. That's where Daryl is. And then it goes to Europe.
Yeah, that's
Daryl apparently gets knocked out, falls in a boat, and the boat drifts across the ocean, I guess.
Yeah.
In the tide or whatever, and he lands basically in France. On the shore of France. And then it's him trying to get back across the ocean, or trying to find a way to get back across the ocean. But Carol ends up finding a guy who has a plane, and he's been flying it. And they put enough fuel in it, and they fly to Europe because I don't know, I don't remember how she figures out that he got to Europe. I don't remember how she figures that out, but he does. And I think somebody told her. She basically almost had to torture him, but they told her, and she goes over and she meets up with Daryl in France, and then they're trying to get back. But so the side stories take us a lot of different areas, I guess, not just of the country, but of the world.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I think it's season 3. They're in the United Kingdom.
I think so. I was trying to figure that out.
The only reason I say that is because at the end of season 2, Daryl and Carol and a few other people are going through the Holland Tunnel. And the Holland Tunnel is a tunnel that goes from Paris to London.
Yeah.
Under the English Channel. So, but I haven't watched any of season 3, so
don't
tell me.
I was watching it. It was very interesting. It kind of she lost it a little bit towards the end. I don't know if it just too much maybe or something.
Maybe.
It seemed like it was like a lot of repeating.
Yeah. The hardest part about the series
seemed very
Yeah, the hardest part I found about this series was I'm so used to Daryl with the crossbow. He doesn't have the crossbow in Europe.
Really?
He lost it somewhere, or they
Yeah,
took
he
it from him
uses
or something.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't want to say it.
It's like a sigh. I've seen
It's
the
pretty-
commercials. I saw the trailer, so I know what weapons he's using right now.
It's pretty nasty.
But, yeah. But,
My wife were watching, and she's like, I don't know about all this, but this is crazy.
the shirt, if you notice, I'm not wearing a podcast shirt tonight.
No, what are you wearing?
I found my other shirt, but it had a hole in it, so I couldn't wear that one. I actually had a shirt that said, if Daryl dies, we riot.
Oh,
It has a hole in it now. It's an old shirt.
He's a
But
badass.
the shirt I have on, if you can see, it's an image of Daryl
Oh shit.
looking at you with his crossbow.
I can see it. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, he's a badass.
And
Daryl.
to me, that's kind of iconic seeing him look at you, look at the screen. You've seen it a few times through the crossbow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Now,
He's definitely a
Go ahead.
badass, that guy.
Yeah.
Daryl.
if I had to guess, was Walking Dead one of the first series that actually started to kill off like the people you wouldn't normally think? If I had to guess, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
you really
I think so.
had no idea.
No.
You know, like
no.
normally growing up, good, bad people could die, good people live, and the good people go from season to season to season to season.
Right. And
Walking Dead.
this one, good and bad, no matter what. Yeah, it's just anybody's fair
Mhm.
game. Apparently, except Daryl Dixon. Everybody else is fair game if they want to keep their fan base, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, because like I said, even if you read the comic, you'd be like, well, that's different.
Guess.
Yeah,
Yeah, because when they were on the Talking Dead, they would, the writers would actually say they didn't want anybody to know what was going on.
Right.
So
Exactly.
they did.
Because like I said, if you had read the comic and they did it exactly like the comic, then you would know every step of the way what's
Right.
going to happen. You just get to see it in live action instead of read it. But yeah, because a lot of different people died that didn't die, or they died in a different way. Like in, I know I'm jumping ahead, but like Abraham, who's the redheaded guy, did not get killed by Negan in the comic.
Okay.
Only one person in the comic got killed by Lucille. And that was Glenn. That was the same. Yeah, only Glenn in the comic and the show got killed by Lucille. And then that whole thing where they got into the RV and they were driving, and basically Negan said to Rick, it was just Rick and Negan, and he says, if you remember, he says, "This is my axe." Then he opens the door and throws it out, and he says, and they're surrounded by walkers, and he says, "Go get my axe."
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, he says, "Go get my axe." And Rick has to go out, fight the walkers, get the axe, and get back into the RV.
Wow.
So, but there are some things that are exactly the same in both. And there are some things that are completely different, or it happened to somebody different.
Yeah.
All right.
So.
Wow. That's crazy.
Definitely save all that for a part 2 of this, because it's very, very interesting.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's probably going to be at least a 3-parter to completely go to the end. I mean, it was 11 seasons long, so.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, when I was looking up the other day, just
the base show was 11 seasons long.
Yeah.
And
so seeing how we're at about an hour and 40 minutes of this, George, why don't you take it? Just
All right. I want to thank everybody for watching. as we compare the Walking Dead comic to the series and mainly do the differences. And I will, we'll talk a little bit about the similarities as well. I want to thank my guests, J Dubs, Jackie, Eric, and Jennifer, who is only on for the first of the 3 parts. I hope you feel better, and that's it.
Thank you for hosting, George. I found it very, very interesting and stuff. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, hold on. Let me find that button again.
Find the button.
The button.
We all got